I told her, I says, you thought $26 billion was a big paycheck. I says, you only had, I don't know, maybe 100 lawsuits that I gave her for that, $26 billion. That's $25 million apiece. I says, I've got 600 lawsuits in California at $25 million apiece. I can deliver to you $100 billion once a week until all the mortgages are satisfied. I said, you bit off your nose to spite your face. I says, with this technology in my program, you don't have to collect taxes. The United States banking industry, which I just rewrote their banking charter for the IMF, is the number 26 with 213 zeros after it. They take 16 zeros to make a trillion.
Which they can't have.
But the point is, they got this big super number out there. And the United States government is owed $400 trillion on bad mortgages. Another $400 billion, $400 trillion from the bank. They're owed another $400 trillion to the Securities and Exchange. But under the Title 15, Section 1639 rescission, Part A, it's 4 times damages. That's $1,200 trillion from both organizations. That's $2,400 trillion of what the United States government corporation has as an asset. Why am I still alive? Because of a $2,400 trillion asset to the United States of America corporation.
Now we hit our bankruptcies correct from when they came out of bankruptcy in 1999. We didn't get into any of that stuff.
Yeah, on August 12th, 1999, I sued the United States of America for the copyrights of the flag at the end, because I was the first person to write the flag in quantum language. All 199 countries of the United Nations appointed Russell and me as a sovereign corporate country. We had a gold, we had gold bullion, we had a gold bullion banking contract, we had international trade agreements written in quantum, 113 pages. We had, that's our coinage there. It's a platinum gold coin. It's worth $1,250. We had our Constitution in quantum, with the United States, or the United Nations has now written as their United Nations Constitution. We wrote that for them. But they said the condition of state of quantum in a world of 9 billion, at this time 8 billion fictions, is so unique you have to have your own country. And so I was voted in, Russell and I were voted in as a corporation, the United States Corporation at that time, to have our own country as both sovereigns. They said, what land are you claiming, though? All the lands have been claimed by all the countries worldwide and all the people. I says, I claim the land of the courtroom floor during the time of quantum contract. I am the director of all courtrooms on planet Earth, and all courtrooms are not a geographical building, but a piece of paper. And what is a piece of paper? It's a vessel in a sea of space. And so therefore, no one had ever claimed the courtroom floor as a geographical location in quantum language, and I own the patents on it. We own the patents on the flag, and that's why this flag is no longer used anywhere in the world except under the correct sentence structure, communication, parse, syntax, grammar. And all countries recognize this flag as a grammar flag, no longer is the constitutional flag of America, because the Constitution was published to be an adverb verb fiction. Benjamin Franklin, when he wrote the Declaration of Independence, thought it was an adverb making declare. De is know, clare is speak, act is location, ION contract. Of is an adverb, modifies independence. In is know, D is know, pen is write, ants is contract. That's parse. So you will not write contract or speak contract, and you will both be in verb at the same time. So even if you figure out one layer of the onion, there's another one below it. And that's why the onion is such a unique condition, that when we have 50 stars on our flag, because there are 50 grammar procedures that you have to know, and 50 different tricks and traps that you have to avoid, which we teach through this program. When you know where the landmines are, you know, you got 100 landmines on the floor here, and you got to go from that wall to this wall. How many of them do you get to step on before you get to this wall? None. You're not allowed to make a mistake. in the world of what we are doing is
Very dangerous.
campaigning.
Very dangerous.
So you have to know where the landmines are, and then you can use your knowledge, and that word is knowledge, to go from point A to point B and not kill yourself.
Just to get here, I had U.S. Secret Service, met with two of them, met with U.S. government, Department of Housing, I was talking about the foreclosures, and I met with the Air Force, just to get here, just on the planes, just getting over there. They were monitoring this whole situation. They're very cognizant of the drug authority. They know it doesn't have a lot of people looking at it, but you know, I've spoke to some computer programmers, and that can be all rearranged as they choose at any time. So,
you know, it was said a long time ago that this is prophesized in the Bible, that an unknown political organization will be created and win 92% of the vote to bring peace to the world for the next 7,000 years.
worldwide, this is a worldwide.
Yeah, this isn't about the United States figuring out grammar correct. This is about the world. That's why my website's written in 150 languages with 5 billion people. That's 90% of all known computers on planet Earth already logged on. So the world, this is a world problem, grammar. You can't have one country correct, but the other 99 countries are out to lunch. So the whole world is learning how to be correct. And we're here to straighten out the contracts on the grammar because no one ever went to war over a math problem in the history of mankind. So we're bringing this communication skills, constitutions, trade agreements, banking, all down to correct grammar. That when you break the law, I shouldn't say break the law, because that's a pronoun. No, for the performance of being correct. When you perform correctness, then you will always be a free person. It's when you stop being correct,
Harm others.
and you do it with knowledge, and we can prove that you did it with knowledge, then you belong locked up, or you belong time out, just like our children as they're learning. We set them down, we don't beat them up, torture them, we make them stand in the corner, we make them sit down where they can't be productive and play, and we give them a time out. You get too many points on your driver's license, you get time out, you gotta walk. The reason for thinking is to abolish thinking. It takes thinking to put one foot in front of the other, where if you get to drive a car, you get to do things a lot more relaxed. You get to travel, and you expect these freedoms. But at the same time that people want freedoms, they're
Accountability is high.
Yeah, you have to perform for this planet. And we're here to, one of our promises is to bring in the Nikola Tesla coils to clean up, produce all free electricity. The coils will produce 10 times more electricity than we need. So all the damage that's been done to our ozone and our air, we can build super air cleaners, which will go in and take the poison out of the air, carbon dioxide, and the pollutions, and the oil, the petroleums. And we can support a planet with 100 billion people with unlimited food, 24-hour-a-day lighting for the entire planet, clean up all the oceans, all done with free electricity. And I understand the physics of electricity. I built my first laser when I was 12, my first perpetual motion motor when I was 16. And it does exist, perpetual motion. You have to understand magnetism and the physics that go into magnetism. But Earth is bathed in 44,000 cycles per second, electromagnetic pulse from the sun. Electricity flows at half the speed of light, 95,000 miles per second, at our position in the Milky Way galaxy from the black hole. Electricity moves here at 95,000 miles per second. As you get closer or further away from the black hole, those numbers change, but we're not there yet in our history. So we're dealing with a number of 95,000 divided by 44,000, which gives you a length of wire. And one winding of that wire will harness the free electromagnetic pulse from the sun and turn it into electricity with no moving parts. A single coil that's 1 mile in diameter will supply 160 million people of all energy that they need, including transportation. Now we can build small ones, the size of this room, 30 feet in diameter. We can build them 6 feet in diameter, produces about 250,000 watts of electricity. You can set those on top of every wood telephone pole in America. They're easy to manufacture, put on a truck, move out, lift on a crane, put on top of the telephone pole, and plug in. And mass-produced, micro-mass-producing cars. And it's just a length of wire that's been harnessed, step-down transformer with a full wave rectifier, plug into the mainframe, and you got free electricity on the mainframe.
All the others.
Now, you have to be 7 to 1 away from planet Earth because Earth is a energy field, static electricity. Lightning strikes Earth at 2,300 times per second. And each bolt of lightning is rated between 20 and 50,000 billion watts of electricity just discharged at static. But these coils will go ahead, because they're on wood, there's no interference, it's 7 to 1. So if you've got a 6-foot coil times 7 is 42 feet, which is how tall the wood telephone pole is. You can throw those up all over your cities, doesn't interfere with anything. Easy to make, easy to install. Produce hundreds of thousands of jobs in the United States paying top dollar. We don't have to do any hydrocarbon. Those that aren't going to be used for electricity, we can put generators on top that will remove all the air pollutions from static electricity. It just simply goes through the air. And we can put those up all over planet Earth in all the cities. And within a couple of years, have the entire planet clean as a whistle, all the water clean as a whistle. Supply all the food you need with 24-hour day lighting with plant lighting, which will be powered by these electromagnetic fields. Yeah.
When is that happening? Last time I checked, I saw the map of the United States and all their power plants are either working yellow or state. But when are those getting decommissioned?
Well, the nuclear energy is out there. You know, Russia, after the Fukushima took place, Japan lost all 52 reactors. They were shut down and they no longer sell them fuel because all the reactors
So
were
the ones that are
all need to be decommissioned. And one Nikola Tesla coil as big as this room will put out more electricity than a nuclear power plant. Well, you know, it's 7 to 1. If you want to use big ones for industry, you just build yourself a styrofoam float, put the coil on top of the styrofoam, floats on the water. Lake Michigan's 1,000 feet deep. That would supply Chicago. You can put one right off of here, run all of San Francisco, a couple off of LA. You got 3,000 feet of water out there. Put one coil or half a dozen coils. You run the whole entire LA basin with that. When it comes to like Denver, you can either build a whole bunch of little towers, as long as it's 7 to 1 ratio away from planet Earth. The things up high. Nikola Tesla built one in Denver back in 1906. So the energy question is solved. The contract question is solved. International trade with quantum language is solved. Unemployment is 0 because energy is free. And then when it comes to battery, you have your lithium batteries for your cell phones, lithium batteries. And the lithium in Colombia, they want to see how deep the salt went in the salt flats of Colombia. They found out they have 25 square miles of pure lithium deposit, 45 feet deep. Enough to build 100 billion electric automobiles. That'll keep us going for the next 300 years. And make the whole world go through electric cars. Now, you have Tesla, which is leader in battery technology. And those Tesla cars are pretty nice. They just came from the Chicago International Auto Show. I went over to Tesla here in Los Angeles County, and I took a tour of the plant. It says, "Well, how come you guys ain't putting 1% thorium with your lithium?" It says 1% thorium will give you 8 times the energy for the same weight and size of the battery. He says, "You never looked at that." He says, "Yeah, you just pull a lithium fluoride battery and you get 1,600 miles to a charge, and it only takes 4 minutes to charge a battery with lithium fluoride." This trouble is that fluoride is radioactive, so you have to figure out some way to condense it down, buffer that down.
JP Morgan is in about that.
Can't plug it in anywhere.
That's right.
So, you know, we don't only do grammar. We get into you've been into science and technologies. Being a president, not a president, being a director is about solving the needs of people, the energy, getting down to the base of all things. When you correct the base, all the sciences that are built on the base can expand from there. When it comes to medicine, we do a program on medicine. The frequency zapper, I control all 3,800 frequencies of all known diseases on planet Earth. I have a frequency zapper that goes from 0 to 100 million cycles per second and can pinpoint a DNA crystalline of anything on the planet. And it can go in there and touch only that one DNA crystal. And I have anywhere from 5 to 8 different frequencies on the sine wave. Now, the sine wave, okay, you have a sine wave that goes like this. And you have a sine wave that goes like this. You have another sine wave that goes like this. So each one of these sine waves, split them. It goes to the bottom. It goes through that, through that. That's a higher frequency. The point is that any one of these sine waves will break a specific location in that DNA crystalline, which has 3 billion codes in it. Now, all DNA crystallines, half of the code, which is 1.5 billion, are the same in every cell of every human being on planet Earth. It doesn't matter where you are, or where you were born, or what you eat, or what you drink. So you have 1.5 billion variables. Some are cancerous, some are healthy. When you go ahead and you can identify whatever specific you have and you know the frequency, you can dial that in. What happens when you break the crystal on your car computer? Car stops. Mass airflow sensor shuts it all down. And that's only just a crack in a circuit board. Same thing is true with the DNA crystalline. When you change its condition, when you shut it down, it can't talk to the chromosome. The chromosome now can't tell the cell what to do. Whether it's a cancer cell or a healthy cell, can't tell it what to do. It can't eat, so it dies of old age. Natural phenomenon. Everything dies of old age. So by identifying the computer and shutting down the computer of only that frequency, doesn't affect any other frequencies from there. 30 kilohertz is 30,000 cycles per second. And the wave looks like this. It's a square wave. That's how it works. It's not a sine wave, it's a square. So you're going to be measuring different squares within the squares as you change frequencies to break a DNA crystalline. As you know, you have your computers in your things. You have your flash drives. This wristwatch runs on a piezoelectric crystal. The battery causes a coil to vibrate at 200,000 cycles per second, which hits a little silicon crystal inside, quartz crystal. That crystal generates electricity to power the coil, charges the battery, and runs the watch. It's 10 years now. It's still just full power. This light comes on just as bright at night, or if I'm in the cave, I can turn it on. I can light the whole cave up, just my wristwatch. So the energy of the crystalline is very unique. And so understanding how to use crystalline, how to use frequency to control all the cells in your body, which are still, your crystalline is your computer of every single cell. Even though it's 1/10 billionth of a size, it's still the secrets to everything. Every disease that come up, you just need to know what the crystalline is of that disease and the frequency of the body and purge 100% of it out in 6 minutes. That's all it takes, 6 minutes. So we have a medical program, we have math program, we've got grammar program, we've got magnetism, electricity. We've got all these different programs covered as a director and people to be assigned to those to fix them. But if you can cure somebody with a 9-volt battery and a computer no bigger than a book of matches, why would you go get a $100,000 chemo thing? Right. And it only costs $16 to buy it, a penny to use it. Right. That's what makes us dangerous in one position and great for 99% of the population. Yes?
This stuff you're talking about, that would be acceptable by the public. Why do you have to be president of the these things in? Why don't these companies?
This already exists. The
Well, why
point is that when a president stands up and makes a statement, the world listens.
So people are shutting it down.
Desensitized. You know, it's desensitizing and masking the fact that as a president director, and we can stand and say, people, here's a solution that we gave you. So here, that's the overhead backup on the tax. That's a global conspiracy practice. Across the board, not only what you Medicare mentioned high. And so upon that flat tax consumption protocol, now the values that the people were having to pay out to pay for the health care programs to supplement society, people that maybe are less fortunate and don't know how to. Now we bring the awareness to say, if you go to this location, these are the tools that you will get, and you get to have some autonomy for yourself, some self-governance. So we want to create that self-governance to the people, and allow the people to make the choices on how they want to care themselves, and take the burden off of the public and federal employees.
That's big government down.
Yeah, and that's it. So it's a very good question. These are the solutions. That yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question with the DNA crystalline on the disease on the zapper.
Yeah.
Would that also work like for activating DNA? Let's say you lost some hearing, you regenerate the hairs on the inside of the eardrum. Could you activate it? Could it? I mean,
Okay.
one thing is getting rid of the disease,
The
but
machine, okay, the machine you need is this one.
You need the quantum physics.
Called a Dikon machine. There's 150 countries manufacturing. It was invented in Russia for the astronauts. The Dikon machine is a frequency machine, runs on much like the Nikola Tesla, which went to the Rife technology, which was Polar Clark's, a cure for all diseases. Oceanside, California. Then the Dikon machine was invented for the astronauts to go in and read every single crystalline of the human body through your nervous system, because the brain control is connected to every nerve in the body, or every cell of the body is controlled. That's why I can touch you anywhere on your body with the head of a pin. You're going to feel it because your nervous system talks to that nerve, tells it how to reproduce. So the Dikon machine goes in and reads your DNA crystalline. Now, people grow until they're 25. At the age of 25, you start dying until you get to a location where you're in geriatrics and your body can't reproduce itself anymore. But the Dikon machine does is it goes into your DNA and reprograms your DNA at the age of 25. Then it goes ahead and with the DNA reprogram, but you only can do it about 5 to 10% each time you use the machine to talk and reprogram the DNA crystalline. So it's talking to the chromosome and improving the chromosomes programming of how the cell eats, how it reproduces, how healthy it's going to be when it does reproduce. So each time you use it, you get better and better and better. Now, as a man 65 years old, and I look 65, most people think I'm about 40 years old. And most people that meet me the first time think I'm 40, and they hear me talk, and they're like, I don't know if I can believe this from you. You're too young to know what you're talking about. And this is from the judges who meet me for the first time. And then they find out I'm 65 years old, and they just sit up and go, now it makes sense. Now you've got 35 years of background in this, so I know that you know what you're talking about. But the Dikon machine, you get on the internet, type in that word, and it will take you to the information you need to study. So I'll leave it at that. Now, the next thing I want to go over with you guys is going to be flags, which is venue, jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is an opinion. But we're going to talk about the venue. Now, you have all your state flags. You go into the courtroom, and the state flags are always going to have a spear on top, and they're going to have yellow fringe around their flags. And
When did that start? Why?
in 1969, they put a man on the moon. What moon it was, the 38 different shadows, I don't know. But and don't worry about the microphone coming down into the scene by accident, or when you step off the ladder into all that nice fine moon powder. Don't worry about that your thrusters that just came down and blasted it. They showed a thing coming down, blasting everything away. I don't know how you got flour on the ground after the retro rockets blasted everything away as it stopped itself. But I don't know about you, but I think if you blow a pile of flour off on the ground with an air hose, and that's going to be pretty clean. You know?
Along all the anti-gravity work all the matters work.
Yeah.
I don't want to use too much nonsense.
It's just, you know, when they showed those pictures and that, I'm going like, just a retro rocket blowing things together. And then walking around with just all the pictures they gave us were all the different shadows pointing in different directions because all the 30 different camera shots above. That's not what you said. So when you see your state flag, you got yellow fringe and you got a spear on top, making it a military court-martial. We're at state level, except you guys are civilians. And now you have a federal flag. The court, you go out walk into a state court and they've got this flag up here, and half of the courts have now taken down the yellow fringe. Because of our program. And they say, well, if we're a foreign vessel in dry dock, we don't have to put that on there. Now the port authorities control all vessels in dry dock called the courthouse. Okay? And because the courthouse is a vessel in dry dock, it's under the port authorities controlled by the DOT, Department of Transportation, which is controlled by the post office, which prints the money and pays the judges through the port authorities as vessels in dry dock.
That's why we file our strips papers with the port authority.
You should see some of the things we've done with the Coast Guard around Lake Michigan and San Francisco and LA and South Carolina, Tampa, Florida, New Orleans. They go to the Coast Guard stations and they're bringing in all our officers, calling in people from home. We got some judges here. They got sea passes and sea treaties and road laws, and we don't have any of our paperwork in order. Well, how much trouble are we in?
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, we usually spend 3 or 4 hours at the stations educating, putting on seminars for the crews. But we're just, you know, we're educating them. Now, on top of the flagpole, you always see the yellow chicken or the yellow phoenix. Well, here's a $1 bill. On the back of the bill, you notice the wings are up. That's postal. That's a postal eagle when they're up. If the wings are down, it's a phoenix for the Vatican banking. So if you're in a courthouse, a courtroom, and you've got a Catholic judge who's doing Vatican banking, he's going to have the wings down. And if they're under a postal guise, they might be an atheist, then they're going to use postal law. And by the way, when it says on the back of the money here, it says, "In God we trust." Well, in is an adverb making God a verb. Me is an adverb making trust a verb. You want to show me the trust verb and the God verb in the dictionary? And then you have the box around both sides of the money. Now, the new Treasury notes that have been published on the 6th of January 2013 haven't been released yet to the public. But on March 1st, 1997, I sued the United States Treasury, and they took the boxes off. That's why your 5s, 10s, 20s, 50s have a circle, because there's no box of the money. So what we're doing in boxing, when you see traffic tickets and boxes, you can pull out the money and say, how come the box is here and the box isn't there? This is illegal. And then I was counsel for Bill Clinton for the sex trial. That was mine. See, first I corrected the money March 1st. Then he apologized on July 4th to the Hawaiians for stealing the Hawaiian Islands. And then in August, he got himself in trouble. And the first person he called was me going, what am I going to do? He says, well, it depends on what the definition of it is. And for that, he turned to the judge on CNN in front of 2 billion people and said, I just showed the American people a verb is and a noun is. Would you like me to show them another verb and another noun? That's a direct quote. And the judge stands up. He's got 4 bars on his sleeve. He's a maritime judge. He says, there'll be no further questions, Mr. President. The court stands adjourned. So then Bill says, wow, that worked really good, Dave. I got to go in front of Congress. And I can't take any lawyers with me behind closed doors. And I don't want to talk about this. It's embarrassing. No, he says, well, you remember the movie If You're Good Men with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson? Jack Nicholson won the Oscar for the Best Actor, and the movie won Best Picture. Mm-hmm. Well, You want the truth? I'll tell you the truth, but you can't handle the truth. He says, you're going to repeat that same phrase to the people. Then you're going to say to Congress, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take you back to being 10 years old today, before we get started here. And I'm going to tell you the truth. He says, on the dollar bill here, we have a box. Anything in a box is in a closed area can't be considered. We have the preposition of in the article the, and we separated them. When you separate them, they're both adverbs. Look any dictionary, any language worldwide. It's in the Styles Manual to it. So now the as an adverb modifies united to be an adjective. UN means now, ITE is citizen, ED is in past time. Then you have a state, which has been modified by an adjective, so the state is a pronoun. PRO means now, NO means now, and UN means now. Then you have the word of. Of is an adverb, ADV, of all 2 consonants. Means no contract, and it's connected to the pronoun in front of it. Then it modifies. Modification is change. It changes motion. Motion is action. And action is verb. America is a dangling participle verb. Now, the parsity of America, A means no, M-E-R-I is Latin for mercy, and C-A is Latin for sheep. No mercy for the sheep. We fleece the sheep. We don't kill them. Called taxation. Welcome to America. Now you know the rest of the story.
Well, here's the true story to go.
Oh, yeah. Then he says, in 2 weeks I have to address the union. And I have to tell the world that America's verb and money disqualify all U.S. currency worldwide, which 150 countries depend on. Or I'm going to seal my case. All those in favor of sealing the case, raise your hand. 102 hands goes up and he walks out. Doesn't say boo. Post office is notified. Central Post Office, Bern, Switzerland. You will not talk about Bill Clinton's indiscretion. Ever. The whole world goes flat. North Korea is not allowed to talk. Afghanistan is not allowed to talk. Pakistan is not allowed to talk. Turkey, Iran, Iraq. All of the people, Russia, China, nobody's allowed to make fun of the US dollar or talk about Bill Clinton's indiscretion. To keep the facts sealed, because every country on the planet uses adverbs to identify. When I was in Canada, I wrote this on the board. This is a long dash. It's connected. This is a long dash. It's connected with A and D. So that makes this a long dash. And I had 2 Treasury agents in the audience, 72 people in the audience. So this is CA, means sheep. Just like CA in America, means sheep. Both of them stood up, put me in handcuffs, and took me to the airport, put me on the first plane back to Milwaukee. And they pulled my visa for Canada, and I haven't been back in 12 years. So in retaliation, I grabbed the magnifier and I syntaxed it, put it up on the internet, syntaxed an adverb verb, and sold it 2 weeks later to Christie's London for $6.7 million. Then she went ahead and she went after me for Australia because I disqualified the courts in New Zealand and Australia, and they appointed me a federal judge in New South Wales, which then I prosecuted. I was a federal land court judge, and a full barrister appointed by Queen Elizabeth. So I do have a barristership. And they, so I prosecuted 129 judges between New Zealand and Australia for fraud against the people in the origines, not aborigines, but origines. Did a radio show for 2 hours on a country western station, and all 3,850 origine tribes in the Australian, but I had to change all their names and all their treaties to origine, not aborigine. And then they all sued the courts to abuse the correct parsing, syntax, grammar. They went trespass on a foreign vessel on the dry dock and shut the courts down. The Australian government then called the State Department and said, "What are we doing with this guy? We got no way to stop him. He's right about everything he's saying. Don't you need a visa to be in your country? Yeah, we'll pull his visa." They pulled my visa and shipped me back to America, and I haven't been back since. So in retaliation, I syntaxed the United Kingdom's Constitution and posted that up on the internet. 2 days later, I wrote the Constitution for the Ireland, and Ireland got Parliament voted on it. 2 days after that, it was sent to the Parliament of England, and England voted on it and gave Ireland their independence in August of 2012 for the first time. 660 years of war ended. Now the Irish have gone to copy the same Constitution and sued Parliament of England for their independence. And then Queen Elizabeth, 2 days after that was approved, got up on BBC and announced that all United Kingdom constitutions worldwide for Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, the islands, Hong Kong were null and void. So we disqualified the constitutions worldwide because of adverb verb. Then I took the U.S. Constitution, and we did that way back in 1999. We syntaxed that, but Obama sold the United States Constitution at auction in New York City in November of 2012. Because it's an adverb verb document that says nothing. It's just a historical piece of paper, and there is no constitutional rights. You have the right, the word constitution means contract. So if your contract is written with the correct Parsi syntax grammar, that is the law, rule, regulation, codes, and a piece of paper that brought you to court between two people. When you sue in the United States District Court, United means no citizen. District, DIS, means demon god of the underworld for trickery in a closed area called court. So if you want to go into the United States District Court, you're going to be tricked, and as long as you babble, you're going to be a victim. Now, what's the only thing that the judge has in front of him when you're in either a state or federal court? Your body. If you walk in there with an adverb verb contract, your contract is null and void. The Constitution that you're claiming you have rights for are written in nothing. They're just straight lines and curved lines called art. So now you have a situation where you're a vessel that's trespassed on a foreign vessel in dry dock. Because you've trespassed on a foreign vessel in dry dock, the only thing that the judge can charge you with is trespassing. But how much money is it going to cost you to walk out of a trespassing charge? With forensic evidence right in front of you. It doesn't matter if you're a traffic, sorting conduct, or anything violent.
File with your port authorities.
But if you do your paperwork, and you have a quantum, and you have your stamp signed, that makes you a postmaster transporting your mail vessel, and you are the mail, M-A-I-L. And because you're delivering the mail as the contract, none of the bailiffs, a bailiff is a letter carrier, but he didn't sign the stamp, he's not the postmaster, you are. Postmaster, the letter carrier works for the postmaster. So when we walk in as federal judges, we deputize the bailiffs as our tip staff. We have jurisdiction over the court because the tip staff stands on claim number one. The jury is in a jury box. But you know what's unique about a jury box? You've got this. You've got 6 people here and 6 people here, and now they're in a box. Jury box means you cannot see evidence or witnesses or cannot hear testimony. And the jury box has 2 6-petite juries, which are illegal. The jury code calls for 12 worldwide in order to have a fair trial. So whatever is said, 6 and 6 is null and void, and that's why the judge can overrule 2 6-petite juries and render his own opinion. O means no, opin, which means to join, and IO in his contract, no joining contract. The word jury, J-U, is no law, and RY is contract. So it's a no law contract because all 12 jury members have a 2nd grade reading level and babble, no matter what the decision is. Even the jury instructions are adverb verb fiction. So then you've got a jury box is on plane 4, talking to a witness in a witness box on plane 3. The clerk is on 2, takes the money, signs the stamps, and moves and is in charge of moving all the documents around the court. And the judge is up here on plane number 1 with a flag with either the chickens, with either the phoenix, but he's got yellow fringe. He takes the yellow fringe off. Anything on top of the flagpole cancels the jurisdiction of the flag.
Yes,
so the contract is null and void.
We were in the National Guard Army Reserve headquarters 2 days ago, and they confessed. They said, "You're flying a spy on top of your state, on top of your American flag, on top of your California flag." She goes, "I'm state and federal." I says, "No, you're not." I says, "You're martial law." She goes, "Very good." And I quoted her with the Army regulations on that. She says, "You're correct." I says, "There's no state of California. That's a verb. It doesn't exist." I says, "It's contracting your ability to police it, maintain it, and the slothful, my words to her were the slothfulness of the people." She says, "They are lazy."
The reason for thinking is to abolish thinking, because thinking hurts. That's why we have punch press operators and ditch triggers, because they don't want to sit and read a book, because it hurts.
May I ask you, speaking to, if you could speak to the 1666, the CQB Act with Cause Do You Live? As in my study, it appears that that was the root cause of the civil death, non-negarian of the name. And
Non-Ligurian of the name came in World War I, 1914.
Okay,
This
so
one is-
just to keep it appears as I read it created a position.
It may have gone back there in the French, but non-Ligurian is a French term. But it was widely published in 1914 because of the battles between Germany and France, and the trench warfare, where millions of people disappeared because of bombardments. They couldn't even find the bodies because they were so badly blown up so many times. So the word, and then the non-Ligurian came in as capitalized names. And then when the court, if the court sues me in capital letters, I can go down to any cemetery. Just the city of Milwaukee alone has 2,800 Miller names on tombstones in our graveyards, all capitals. So only capitalized names on tombstones. So if they send you a capital letter, you go and ship vessels, right? And paragraph 1 of Maritime Code says that the name of all vessels must have a name, and the name must be capitalized. 9 billion humans are vessels. So when they're going to that location of a vessel moving, for you to have a claim of the live life with a stamped sign of the law of the flag, and know your identity, then you can write your name in upper and lower case, walk into a vessel. But when you enter a vessel in dry dock, you've left your country. You must have your ship's papers, you must have your medical papers to say you are alive, life, and don't have any contagious diseases. As a result of putting blood or saliva on all of our claims of the life, if you try to file those, you're being prosecuted or sent through the mail for biological hazards. Now, the post office changed the laws, put a stop to what we were doing.
So why they don't want blood on documents?
Right, and it's right in every single clerk's window. Any biological material paperwork will not be filed.
Okay, now
Is that why you can't see the lick stamp anymore?
Correct. All stamps are now sticky because if you lick them, then it's a biological hazard. And if the post office is selling a lick stamp, they're saying, well, then you're supposed to use a sponge and water and making it damp, not allowed to. You use saliva, they can prosecute you for sending biological material to the post office.
It's crazy.
Now, Judge, some of my clients have brought some mail to me and complained that it appears to be fraud when they read 18 U.S.C. 1341, 1342. The
Mail fraud name and mail fraud finance to the mail.
So we were trying to put a word set together to deal with mail fraud so that we didn't have
It's on my website. It's already defined in longhand. PWMLC.com.
The mail to be returned unless it's put to a proper person.
Correct. Right. No. What's this? You can try that.
I mean, a proper name. As
No.
Is that not right?
Proper's no good.
Oh, thank you.
This is no person. And then you have property. No person contract. Because all property is written on real estate, no contract, ES, no take. This is contract, this is no. And ta is, I have to look that one back up again. This is a no contract, no contract. So it's a no cut because when you brought your property, they killed the people who lived there, and this came from the issue of failing from ailing. Huh?
How does AR get to?
It has two vowels.
Okay, do that.
It's okay.
That's what we
Okay, now,
Consonant, two, or vowel, two consonants is negative. This is-
AILING means corruption from the beginning. Okay, so now they use the 5 words. Failing to state a claim. 41212, that's in future time, so therefore you have nothing, and because this is in the future, to state a claim, making claim into a verb, and you change, this is 12b6. Every lawyer uses it when he doesn't know what to do, 12b6. Then you take out the F. Corruption to state a claim. You're trying to collect an insurance policy. You bastardize the language and now you're corrupt to state a claim, which means now you're guilty and you owe the insurance company 4 times your damage claim. That's how you flip it. I did that with a 1995 for Sarah Lamb in a traffic accident. She got $38,000 off the insurance company, and the judge says you will write this person a check for the car and the damages in this court or go to jail for a year.
Did you end up syntaxing 18 USC 1341, 13?
Yeah, that's all up there. It's been up on the web for 15 years. So.
Because I'm just challenged to comprehend what that is, because what I've understood is that what the law is saying is that one fiction cannot use the post office to collect money from another fiction.
Right.
Is that
There's no such thing as fiction.
Right. And, so if the bill is so money is to be collected through the post office, then does not it have to be sent to a proper name, maybe?
Correct is the word we're looking for. A correct name.
Correct.
Don't use word proper, a correct name.
Okay.
Yes,
So
and you can
my
sue.
understanding on that?
You want to sue for a correct name performance. Then you have a contract.
So it's this, see this? 30-5, numbers and nouns, people are facts, sorry, nouns. If you drop out the function, which is the hyphen, the transient action to make the compound fact, you lose jurisdiction of what you're trying to articulate, and your facts lose jurisdiction of your subject matter. And so if you're not correct under the fictitious convenience language in the title of 18, 13, 41, 13, 42 alpha, because there's no closure, this is how you prove it, real simple.
Okay, and now from that, if I was to place a word set endorsement on there that would resend the mail back to the post office, and that said the CFO of the corporation was, and the postmaster wasn't able to find, and it said no such person, what would happen with that presentment? Does that end up going back to CID or the tax department criminal investigation?
They won't even touch it, so it's because it's just a stamp.
Well, right, I mean,
The value of the stamp is all that's there. That's why you have $500 minimum under federal for grand theft and others misdemeanor.
I haven't had any challenges after we write no such person as for 18 USC.
That's because the person you're talking to has a second grade reading level.
Okay.
No is an adverb making, we're going to say no such person, you can go off. No is an adverb making such to be an adjective of the word person. No can be a pronoun making such to be an adverb, now making the word person a verb, which is a fiction, so you've said nothing. If you're saying nothing about nothing, where's my crime? Then if you go to find a definition that's written in adverb verb, they're only suggestions, they're not laws. That's why you want to leave Earth and you want to go into a foreign vessel and dry dock where the judge makes a determination that 3 + 3 equals all numbers in the universe but 6, because you can't try a fact. But you can argue about what the shade of black is, because there's 1,200 shades of black. You know, and the law says in 1964, it's written for colored people. You see this whiteboard? This is the color white. Am I white? No, actually I'm a red man, or a pink guy. But there's no such thing as white. Never has been. It's just there's 1,200 shades of white. There's no such thing as negative. 400 degrees below zero just means it lacks a certain amount of energy. You can't get to a negative position. A negative, you know, they look at out in space and they see dark matter. Where there's no light, there's nothing. And most of the universe is made up of dark matter, where there's nothing. And so wherever you have light, you have energy. Reflecting off of particles of something that probably from an explosion. But if you can see anything different outside of dark matter, then that means there's particles of dust that are being reflected off of stars. So you have some form of energy present until you get into dark matter. But even dark matter has a electromagnetism is a constant, and magnetism is an energy. So therefore, you still have a positive condition.
So what we want to do in the word set is create a positive condition.
Always.
Always, you're only suing for positive. We're gonna get into your condition of thinking in a second, on official's flag. The United States has 11 flags in its article. When Obama took office, they added another one. It's called the Treasury flag. This is three. Our flag is one. It's 1 to 1.9 or 10 to 19. A boat flag is 3 by 4. This is 3 by 4 on our flag. If you have a square, if this is a square field where this is a 4 by 4, then this here is going to be a 60-40, but now it's going to be a 3 by 5 flag. That's a military base flag. 3 by 4 is for boats, and 1 to 1.9 is contract flag, and 17 to 19, not 10 to 19, 17 to 19. No, 10 to 17. 10 to 17 is a military base flag. Then you have patrol flags. Then you have the ball on top is for advertising the draft. That's what that's for. The spear is for court-martial. The eagle, with the wings up, is for the President of the United States. But pre means no, and SI is simulation, and ENT is denture, or contract. So by putting a negative condition of no and a simulation of SI, as you sign the signature. When you have an author, autograph, authorization, authentic, that's AU, it's symbol of gold on periodic table. PO is gold next to rules, so you have authority. And then they can slip it in the Phoenix on there. And the Phoenix is Vatican banking, but then Obama's flag looks like this. It's always hung in a banner. Square field 1 to 2.25 dimension. And they have to hang it in a banner because all banners suspend Constitution. I don't care what flag you're using. At the United Nations building in Washington, D.C., in New York City, you have 199 3 by 4 boat flags. You have one flag that is 1 to 1.9, and that's the correct sentence structure. Communication, parse, syntax, grammar flag that flies in the first position. That's my flag. That's copyrighted. And if you go to New York, can you see that? No. No, you're looking at a contract flag, and everybody signed it because the mathematical interface on grammar being correct is something that they all have to achieve. It just takes time to learn.
Yeah, we met with the Postal Department there at the United Nations, and they took us off to the side and wanted to meet with us, and we asked them a few questions. Mechanics are postal. Of course, they didn't know anything. They said, Russell, we don't know anything. We want to be your student. You and David, you guys are the best postmasters on the planet. Everybody else is a scam. We believe in you guys. We don't believe anyone else. They said, we don't know. They says, well, under Title 42, 1986, under knowledge, you're disqualified as a corporation for moving your stamps from point A to point B around the world. He goes, I know we are. He goes, can we be your student? I says, absolutely. He says, we're here to correct. He says, I'm still with the United Nations. I'll teach you guys how to be correct because you guys aren't correct. You can't do anything for anybody. Because I know it's a worldwide problem. That's the evidence.
This here, City of Milwaukee, after I prosecuted Judge Statenmiller, well, actually it was Wasilewski. They couldn't get any judges to take the case for Wasilewski. So Statenmiller was our chief judge at the time, said, I'll take it. I'm the chief judge. We have 92 judges here at the courthouse. And nobody can overrule me. He took the lawsuit, read it for 20 minutes, and came out and says, I recuse myself. He says, I don't think there's a judge anywhere in the United States that will take this case. 400 state judges in 7 states, Indiana, Michigan, Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Ohio, Iowa, all vacated their position to take it. They found a judge in Cleveland, Ohio, 97 years old and retired 26 years. And he took the case. I defeated him 3 times in a row, and in 52 years on the bench, he had never lost a case or had a case turned over. And he ruled in my favor and took off his robe on the 3rd defeat and threw it on the ground and says, your statute of limitations is running out, Mr. Miller. But it was the first time. Even when I wrote my first lawsuit in front of that old man, I used the 1923 typewriter with the old nylon ribbon, and the E letter was always a quarter character higher than all the rest of them because of a defect when they manufactured those machines. And he noticed that my paperwork was written on that typewriter. And he says, "How did you get this thing to write in all uppercase?" He says, "Well, the key was broke. It's a 1923 model." And he goes like, "So when I used one, I went to college." He says, "I had to write my papers on it." He says, "I see the key is still broke, the E key." He says, "How'd you get it to write lowercase?" He says, "I used a needle nose pliers. I had to hold the letter up to lowercase and tap it with a screwdriver to make the lowercase spelling." After everybody got done laughing, he said, "Well, did you write this paper for months?" Pushing one key at a time. You know? They gave me credit for really working at it. But in the city of Milwaukee, our intake court uses 1-inch Lexan plastic, bulletproof, soundproof. And the audience is out here. And you have your plaintiff box here for your pleadings. The jury is in a jury box, soundproof clerk, soundproof judge, soundproof. Complete, all separated, boxed and soundproof. And then the judges up here with switches turning on everybody who can listen and can't listen to control anybody from coming into court and making any statements that they don't want anybody to hear. So they're taking the boxing to a new stage now, putting everybody into a plexiglass soundproof box. So that's totally illegal.
I heard something about Obama stood on a piece of paper during his oath, separated himself from the plane, so his oath was null and void.
Correct. His oath, the adverb oath that he's taken with John Roberts is, in fact, a null oath. We have our own oath that we will be using, and these are the ones. This is my Hawaii. Let me see which one. No, this is my California federal oath. I have this oath published in San Diego, California, in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Fresno, and it's paid my fees, got my stamps, got my seals on it, raw seals.
I've got mine here for Kansas and Nevada, but they won't let us in. The U.S. Marshals won't let us file these anymore. They totally.
Well, the government's completely capitalistic on this.
Yeah.
They've been building walls around our technology to separate the fiction from the fact, and from the performance. You know, because we only come in we sue for the performance, sue for the correct grammar and the syntax. And because we do it mathematically, we can identify every piece of fraud that's put out there and tear it all apart. But in the foreign vessel in dry dock, you've actually left planet Earth and now you're on a spaceship from another planet. Same thing as any one of you will put out here to the harbor in San Francisco and jump on a Chinese freighter without your passport, Siemens papers. What's the end result going to be? You're going to get harvested. You're going to get thrown in the brig, taken back to China, and stuck in jail for 8 years.
Isn't that called a foreign invasion on American soil?
No, because the vessel is in water. It's not connected. The Port Authority, they paid a docking fee. Say, when you bring paper, when you take a piece of paper and you walk into the clerk's office, you walk up to the clerk and you hand her a vessel. You pay a docking fee for the vessel. They put a stamp on it and they sign it. Well, when they sign the stamp, we sign. Yeah. No, I got this one here. When they put a stamp on it, I sign their stamp. That makes me the clerk of this court on quantum language with the fee paid, front and back, and the endorsement is how you cash a check at the bank. So this is an equitable Article 1 judge. No, that's Article 3. So I get called up for jury duty in the city of Milwaukee, and they put me on a murder trial. And finally I wound up in the jury box, and the judge goes, "What do you guys do for a living?" So he gets to me and he says, "Well, I shouldn't really say anything in public, Your Honor." He says, "No," he says, "you'll answer like everybody else." That's okay, well, federal. I'm a federal judge on special duty. He says, well, Mr. Miller, what do you do as a federal judge? And I says, well, I prosecute judges for a living. He was like, you can't prosecute a judge. And then he says, well, what, are you Article 3? I goes, no. Oh, no, Article 1? No. Article 2? No. Article 3? I said, well, the word article means no contract. I says, but it would be on the contract judge, on special duty. He says, you remember Judge Stettler, right? I says, yeah. Remember the day he left? Yeah. How many judges did he take with him? 12. That was the judge that caused that to happen. I prosecuted the judges for treason, not having an oath of office. He was like, all right, everybody will answer questions except Judge Miller. And he started asking about guns. Everybody will answer except David Miller. He went through a whole list of 8 different questions. He says, Mr. Miller, you don't have to answer any more questions, you know? So then finally, and catch this, the prosecution of a criminal trial for murder. The prosecutor is my next door neighbor.
Oh,
For 8 years. Conflict of interest. Yeah, he's a judge and I'm a judge, you know. And so this thing's getting really, so when it comes to the striking, they had to ask one person to leave. And everybody that wants Miller to leave, raise your hand. All the clerks, the judge, both prosecution and defense attorneys said they would put their hands up. Okay, Dave, you can leave now. So then when I went back to the pool, clerk comes up to me and says, come with me, comes up to the counter, and all 5 clerks go, sign my paper, you're not legal for jury duty for the next 8 years.
So what happens when you know, somebody like something from Treasury, the notice says,
you have to establish.
You have to establish why you are there, and you have a duty to perform. But if you have knowledge in quantum, if you can afford the time, it would be really good for you to be on there because you can control the jury as form by merely syntaxing.
Knowing the planes and telling the clerk.
And if you ask one question, are you going to use the correct parsing, syntax, grammar in this trial, you're disqualified as a jury member for the next 6 years, just by that question. If you wore my business card into any jury room, you would be disqualified for 6 years.
Yes, sir.
Every courtroom, you know this,
Yes, my picture hangs in every courtroom in the United States and Canada, so they know who I am when I walk in the door.
I've never missed a court.
Oh, all courts, even the little guys in the one-horse operations in the backwoods of Montana, and I was in a 120-year-old courthouse built of red brick in Washington State in the mountains. Next closest city was over 120 miles away, and there was only like 50 people that lived in this county. But they had this big old courthouse there. And I pulled in, I got out of the car, and somebody yelled out of the window, "There are leaders here!" And I walked into the courtroom, and there was like 30 people there for drunk driving, disorderly conduct, sitting. And then the judge stands up and says, "We're going to do something different today. $20 court cost for everybody, and free to go. If you don't want me to fight, you can sit and we'll go through your case." Everybody got up, paid $20 because you're gonna have $21 to make it federal. Otherwise, $20 is a misdemeanor with nothing. And they all walked out. Then the judge took off running out the back door and got in the car. I wanted to, she promised to have a meeting with me, but she left and went talk.
True story. I know the guys in the audience. We haven't seen them for some years. But
Mark,
come on, tell your story of what you witnessed to the Postmaster General of the United States Postal Service. Dude, this is good. I want to see this guy.
Also, put him on for the
Pentagon?
no, where we removed 4 Supreme Court judges.
Oh, yeah.
He was our marshal, our tip staff.
Yeah.
Bob Reagan.
No,
Here's an interesting story.
We went to Washington, D.C., and we went to sue the IRS, outfit for them. And we filed our paperwork. We did everything we were supposed to do. We held trial. David Russell outside the what's the courthouse?
Supreme Court.
Supreme Court, on this, in front of the steps. Now, of course, you're not allowed to be on the steps because if you're on the steps, they can arrest you. So they would be sitting on the steps and they'd be trying to
there was 12 marshals standing on the first step.
Yeah, and trying to get you to step up to a step, because if you did, then they could grab you and take you away, right? So we did all that, and it worked out really cool. It was pretty amazing, actually, the first time I ever did it. But then we had to file paperwork over to court where the alphabet crew does all their, stuff that they do. So we go over as a group. There's a bunch of us. So we go over as a group, and we don't know what to expect. We just know that we were told what to do, and so we go over there and we go into the place. Now it's a rotating thing. So if you go in the right side is where you go in, and there's a big box in the middle, and that's where the officers are that check you out first.
U.S. Marshals.
Yes. And then on the right side is where you can come out. All right. So we're all in the right side, and we're all standing there, and we're saying we need to get this paperwork into this court, and we wanted to talk to a judge, and they wouldn't do it. Because we really need to file this paperwork. So they didn't want to file the paperwork because obviously they knew what that paperwork would do. So they eventually called down the judge. So she was in the middle of a case, and she was hearing her case, and she eventually came down. She said, what is the big ruckus down here? And we're saying, well, we have this paperwork, it needs to be filed, and we need to sign it in and everything like that. And she's like, there is no tax collector. There is no tax collector. You have this wrong. You're all mistaken. There is no tax collector. She kept telling us. We said, well, we just need you to file this then, send it in, no problem. Well, this bugger here, he decides he's going to come in later. We had it all, he's going to come in later. And so we're there about a half an hour. It was about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, a half an hour. He comes in walking half an hour later. We're sitting there arguing back and forth. We're just trying to discuss with this judge, trying to get the paperwork. And he comes walking in to the opposite side. And I'm not lying, it just blew my mind. As soon as he walked through the door, everybody knew who he was. Now, they had never seen him before. Nobody ever seen him before. He walked in the door. Judge Russell, how you doing? Judge, he's sitting there. We're trying to explain to these people there is no collector, right? And he's like, well, no, these people, I tell you what, they just, it was amazing. It was amazing. So that was like one part where it was just mind-boggling how everybody knew who he was, and he had never been there before. So now we're down there, and he calls a thing with the Universal Postal Union, and the Postmaster General is going to be there, right? So I said, look, I'm going to sit in the back, way in the back. I'm going to see what goes on because I do security and I do all that kind of stuff. So I said, I'm going to watch what goes on. Well, he goes in ahead of me, and he's sitting over here. Postmaster General comes in, he goes up to the front, right? And I'm in the back.
You're talking United States Postal Service.
United States Postal Service. So I'm sitting in the back. And things going on, proceedings are going on and whatnot. And Russ is, he's not saying anything, he's being nice and quiet. Well, the postal inspector, he gets up. And he's got people come with him. And they walk hastily, very hastily, to get out of the room. And they go around, out the door, and right to the elevator. Now they're standing in the elevator. Now I get up, and I'm with them. They don't know who I am. I'm just, nobody. So I'm standing there, and they're all right here. Postmaster General. And he's saying, you gotta get me out of here. You gotta get me out of here. I cannot be in the room with that guy. I cannot be in the room with that Russell. It was like, you gotta get me out of here. I'm laughing. I'm sitting there going, oh my God, you kidding me? So they hurried up, rushed him into the elevator, right? And he left. Okay? And then I went back in and I sat in for the rest of the hearing, and obviously Russ, he sat there. I ended up telling him what happened later on. He just laughed. It was just scumballs. These people, they know who he is. They do not want to be in his presence.
Did Potter identify Russell himself?
No. What he said, his exact words were, I cannot be in the same room as that man. So he understood.
We had 7 senators in the room with us.
Yeah, there was a lot.
This was when they had the postmasters convention of all 50 states, heads of all postmasters from 50 states in Washington, D.C. at the same time. When we walked in,
Because I wanted to
And
see.
after they recognized that Russell and I were in the room, half of the postmasters got up and walked out and didn't come back. I mean, the whole thing was disrupted because they couldn't be in the presence of two quantum postmaster generals in a room full of fictions. I mean, they knew that, and the senators even.
Yeah, the senators ran out of the room.
Yeah.
I've been with David where we met with Craig Thomas and Alan Simpson, who were former senators, U.S. senators in Wyoming, and we'd go up to them at the Casper Event Center and put on the dollar presentation about America being a burden. They'd literally take off and run on us. Literally. Bam. Gone.
And then the other time was when we went to the Pentagon, David and I, we went to the Pentagon to file our treaties.
That was our muster master
Yeah.
role, just like you have a muster on a cruise ship. We, as plenipotentiary judges and musters, we went ahead and Russell and I contracted that if any U.S. troops, Army, Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps, Homeland Security, get in any kind of trouble for genocide or a parricide or a lawsuit that can't be won by the U.S. government, we can step in and say yea or nay on the parse syntax grammar and vacate the position in any language on planet Earth, any country. So for free, we guaranteed that to 82 countries, the same way as we did the Pentagon, and so we have 82 ambassadorships. And we're guaranteed to protect all these different countries, which is 97 cents on the dollar worldwide. So anybody touches us, 82 countries are going to stand up and scream, "You're touching our ambassadors." So not only are we directors of our own country as sovereigns with the United Nations and federal judges with sovereignty under independence when we're in our court position with our contracts, but we're also independent in our ambassadorships times 82 with all these different countries as well. So we are two unique guys that are trying to bring this planet into an alignment of performance to be correct. And what's the harm in that? In a world of 9 billion fictions.
And that was the last time they let that happen. We got the guy, Secretary of the Navy, actually come down, took the paperwork, signed off the paperwork. We ended up leaving, and that was the last time they allowed any of that to, go into that place again.
But the very next day, we went to the Pentagon again, back. And we said, "We know you guys read this."
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "How do you know that?" He says, "Because I got 402 phone calls on my website. I got caller ID, and all the caller ID from their computers all bring in the phone numbers. So with having 400 departments and 400 202 area codes pop up on my Skype, they knew that on my website, because I've got a web counter for military. They told me that everyone in the Pentagon had gotten it, they made copies of it and passed it out to 400 departments, okay, with our pictures and our portfolios, saying these guys are in charge of us as not only postmaster generals, but muster masters to protect all other departments. Here's all the 120-page certification." And then the next one, the next time Mark was with us was when we sued the 9 Supreme Court judges for failure to have an oath of office, failure to have a seat-pass, seat-treat, or drove law to dock the Supreme Court building in Washington, D.C. And then they brought in 12 marshals, stood on the first step of the Supreme Court building as we stood in front of the 2 cameras on the light poles, center stage, talking to the cameras. The judges were all inside watching us on the closed-circuit TV, which they told us later they were watched the whole thing, 2 hours, 95-degree heat. And then the first marshal on the end, he fell off a step, and as soon as he touched our sidewalk, he was then on our plane, and all 3 of us, Janice, Logan, Russell, and I, spun around and said, "We hereby deputize you as our tip staff, stand to attention." So he walked over at arm's length, held the American flag on a pole for 2 hours. We had him, because he couldn't put it on the ground, because he touched the ground. So he had to hold the flag for 2 hours. And when we got done signing all the contracts, and Marker was our tip staff, who he had licensed through us, and he had the contract signed, that marshal carried in all of our paperwork, his tip staff position. He's a legal tip staff through the Unity States of our World Corporation and the Federal Postal Court, which is and the other person is Richard Schmitz in Appleton, Wisconsin. He's a tip staff also. And he's been with us since 1993, so 20 But
Well,
it's 3
he's
years.
working a while.
Yeah.
He's still a tip staff, he's still our tip staff, and he's been in our program since
2003.
yeah, 2003, but about 12 years now. And he knows his material, but and then after the tip staff from the U.S. Marshal Service at the Supreme Court went into the clerk's office, the judges invited us to bring whatever paperwork else we had to file. We got all that stamped and filed, and then they had us come into chambers in front of the Supreme Court where the 9 judges sat at the bench. And Russell and I walked in and we said, why don't you guys come down on our plane so we can hear each other? Well, we're fine. So then I turned to Russell and I said, you know, if we're going to stay here and talk to ourselves, and nobody's going to learn anything, then so I think we should go in it because these guys are not, they don't have an oath of office, they're not really judges, they're just actors in black robes. We turned around and walked out, turned our backs on the Supreme Court. The next day, 4 of the 9 Supreme Court judges, one ranked Chris O'Connor Day, who were the other 2 guys, remember? They resigned. That's why the United States Senate had to meet at midnight and call an emergency session to order 7 of 9 back to the bench. Rehnquist and Day wouldn't go back. They stayed out. Rehnquist died 6 weeks later. And then they had Supreme Court hearings for the next year on PBS TV every single day. That's all that was on the news every day, was trying to elect 4 new Supreme Court judges. We are the only 2 guys in the United States history that ever removed the Supreme Court judge. Because quantum is jurisdiction over fiction. And we were also recognized as the chief federal judges because of that action to remove the judges, because we had a legal oath of office. Correct.
I've had U.S. Marshals come up and have conversations with me saying that they watch the videos, and that I took down the U.S. Supreme Court flat out. This is duty. Our judges can't hold a candle to you. You're awesome.
Okay, nice.
Thanks, Wow. That's the man. We need a break for lunch. Where are we at? Where are we at?
Yeah. 10 minutes to 1. I know you guys haven't even had a toilet break yet.
There's lots to go over.
Okay, the bathrooms are, I think, if you go out to the end, you go all the way down to the bathrooms.
We'll break for an hour, we'll figure all that out, and then when we come back, we'll get into finish up here and then get into some of the solutions with the Director's Party, talk about branches of government, how the correct communication process syntax grammar goes into those branches.
Ja, nå er det det.
Når er du våken?
Ja. Det tar av.
Er det bra?
Jævlig bra.
Får du tatt opp, eller?
Ja.
Knallbra. Ja, orker du å holde deg våken, eller?
Det er klart jeg orker det.